Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Salebox for the 15th of July 2012. My name is TotalBiscuit, rounding up your daily Steam deals. Remember, these deals will run past the 16th. You will get an additional 12 hours of leeway after the sales change over, so if you caught this video a little bit late, do not worry. Chances are they are still there. Needless to say, I will not be covering the flash sales, because by the time this video goes up, the flash sales will have disappeared. But feel free to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/TotalBiscuit, if you want to know more about the flash deals. I have a tendency to talk a little bit on that particular site. Alright, what have we got coming for you today, folks? So let's start off with the Indie Bundle number 4. We seem to get new ones of these every day, and once again, this one will set you back a paltry, pathetically small amount. You are looking at spending a astonishingly low $9.99, €9.99 in Tier 1, or €6.99 in Tier 2, and £6.99 in the greatest of Britons. Alright, so what does it contain? A Valley Without Wind, Atom Zombie Smasher, Blocks That Matter, Sanctum, and Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery EP. I have done WTF of 4 out of 5 of these games. The only one I haven't done is Blocks That Matter. There's a really good Yogscast video on that, so feel free to go and have a look over at that particular title. Alright, so A Valley Without Wind. It's a fairly interesting, randomly generated Metroidvania-style game. It's not a very good-looking game. I think the aesthetic puts a lot of people off. It's very difficult to find positive things to say about that. I did sink a lot of time into it. I think that was the explorer in me wanting to find out more about this particular world, which was curiously, colourfully post-apocalyptic. The combat is reasonable, although not exactly what I'd call amazing. It's really a reasonable game to play in co-op, and what I will say about Arkan Games, the guys that make Valley Without Wind, they also made a game called AI War, and they have a tendency of updating their games a lot with new content. I can't really solidly recommend it at this stage, but it's a little bit of fun nonetheless if you like Metroidvania-style games where you go exploring randomly generated worlds. It's not too shabby at all. Atom Zombie Smasher, really great game, incredibly hard game. Plays almost like a board game with some RTS elements. You've essentially got to rescue survivors from cities that are infested with zombies, and you have various different military units with which to actually do that. It is really difficult, incredibly hard, but it's very rewarding. It's got this great kind of 50s, 60s style to it that I'm a huge fan of. Heartily recommend Atom Zombie Smasher. Blocks That Matter, haven't played it, go check the Yogscast video. Sanctum is a first-person tower defense game, and I enjoyed this an awful lot. It's got quite a bit of content to it now, actually. They added a free Yogs Cave. No, I'm deadly serious. A free Yogs Cave piece of content, and you can also get a bunch of different DLC, which is a wide variety of different weapon packs and areas to play within. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I would play it co-op. It's not really too much of a single-player game as far as I'm concerned, but it's a fairly enjoyable first-person tower defense. You build your towers in first person, but shooting is also a fairly important element of it. In fact, towers are generally not enough to keep back the hordes. You have to try and gun them down yourself, and each of the units has different weak points that you can exploit with various weapons, so it's a fairly unique concept. I enjoyed it quite a lot. And last but by no means least, Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery. I haven't really figured out what this actually is yet, honestly. It's a bit of a mixture of a 2D adventure game, very, very old-school feel to it, a little bit Zelda-ish, and a point-and-click. If I'm totally honest, if you have an iOS device, you should actually play it on a touchscreen, because that's what the game was designed for initially, and it just plays a little bit better on a touchscreen. But if you haven't, then it's definitely worth picking up. A fairly strong deal, I would say, standouts being Atom Zombie Smasher and Sanctum. Certainly worth an investigation. Alright, let's continue on, shall we? And have a look at Cities XL 2012. 75% off, takes it down to €10, €10 and £7.49. So this is very, very similar to Cities XL. It's just a little bit of an update more so than anything else. And if I'm totally honest, from what I played of it, I found it boring. It just seemed uninspired in many areas. It didn't give me the same kind of satisfying feel of constructing a city that I would get from any of the SimCity games. It also has some real performance problems. That game drags hard on pretty much anything. Once you build a big city, the frame rate has a tendency to drop down. It's got a big focus on balancing the wants and desires of the people within your city, so you're going to be looking at a lot of charts and spreadsheets a lot of the time. It's certainly not a terrible game, but it's hardly what I call inspired, unfortunately. It seems like city builders are not doing so well at the moment, so here's hoping the latest SimCity will turn out to be reasonable. Alright, let's carry on and have a look at the Darkness 2. 75% off, takes it down to $12.49, €12.49, and £9.99. There's also a 4-pack available, although I've got to say the co-op mode in this game is not exactly what I describe as inspired. It's pretty funny, it's well presented, the characters are kind of cool, but it's not all that enjoyable in comparison to the main game. I did do a WTF as of this, feel free to go check it out. I was fairly detailed on the subject, as far as I'm concerned. It now does have an FOV slider, which makes it significantly more playable on the PC. It's pretty fun, and it's got a really unique graphic style to it. They've got this nice comic book style overlay, which I very much appreciate. It does have quad wielding. You can impale people with signposts. You've got this British goblin thingy that chases you around and pees on people. Yeah, that's not exactly a great selling point, but whatever, it's there. It was a fairly enjoyable, if rather linear, shooter. I would say that, in comparison to the original, it's got the pacing, whereas it doesn't have the kind of hub-based design. Now, some people don't really like hub-based design in FPS. Personally, I really, really do. So I'm a little bit miffed that it's not there anymore. It's more of a linear style of game. But for that price, yeah, I would say it's a bit of a blast, honestly. The multiplayer is co-op only. It's fairly forgettable. The problem with the co-op, as far as I'm concerned, is that you don't have as many powers as the character in the main game does. So you feel very much neutered in comparison to the single-player campaign, which makes it a little bit less enjoyable. Plus, it's kind of repetitive. The way that you gain energy back is by destroying hearts, and it's the same animation over and over and over again with your weapon that takes just a little bit too long. Whereas you play the single-player game, you got tentacles whipping all over the place, you're slicing people's heads off, you're ripping them in half, you're wielding car doors as shields. Yeah, it's pretty damn fun. Feel free to check out the full video over with the WTF's link, as you can see on the screen right now. Alright, let's move on to the Hitman collection, shall we? So the Hitman collection will set you back $6.24, £3.74, so the UK get the best deal, and €4.99. So for once, the US actually gets very slightly shafted by about 2%. I'm sure they'll live through that. So, what do we got? We've got Hitman Codename 47, which is the original, Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, and then Hitman Blood Money. We are missing Hitman Contracts. That's been missing from pretty much everything, reason being there are some music licensing issues that are keeping it off the shelves. Really kind of sucks, but then again, that wasn't the strongest game by any stretch. I would say Hitman 2 was better. Hitman Blood Money is easily the best of the series. I'd say Codename 47 is a little bit forgettable, honestly, because if I'm honest, it had a tendency of being just a little bit too unforgiving and very, very frustrating. That game, if I recall correctly, didn't allow you to save in the middle of a mission, so it was a bit of a nightmare, and it also discouraged experimentation, which is something that Hitman is very, very good at. As regards to what the game is, it's very much a stealthy third-person shooter with a lot of different ways to take down your targets. Hitman Blood Money is the strongest of the series, in my honest opinion. It's got the most ways to kill people, it's got some amazing level design, great weapons, good storyline, it's just a great game in general. The question is the collection worth getting? If I'm gonna be honest, I will probably say no, because Blood Money is a hell of a lot cheaper than the rest of this collection. You can get Blood Money for $2.50, £1.49, or €2.49. You could skip the other two. Silent Assassin is pretty good, but the problem is that Codename 47 is the same price, and it kind of drags the price of the bundle up. So, honestly, if you're looking for something cheap and cheerful, Hitman Blood Money without the rest of the package might get you somewhere. You don't save a lot by getting the bundle anyway, and you are dragged down by Codename 47, which is old and just, it doesn't feel very good at the moment. In comparison to the rest of the games, it's nowhere near as good. Alright, moving on to the Mount and Blade collection. This one is going to set you back $8.47, €8.74, and £7.49. So the collection contains Mount and Blade, Warband Napoleonic Wars, which is a DLC pack exclusively for multiplayer, and Mount and Blade with Fire and Sword. Now, in this case, I don't think, once again, that I would recommend buying this whole bundle. Mount and Blade is inferior to Warband in every way, with the exception of the fact that there are a couple of decent mods for it that aren't quite ported over to Warband yet. Warband has multiplayer and a bunch of mods as well. It's got all sorts of great stuff. It's just a better game in general than Mount and Blade. With Fire and Sword is a game that I wasn't a huge fan of because of the guns. I think the guns actually ruin the whole bloody thing. I prefer the medieval combat versus the Napoleonic Wars style of combat. And even if you want Napoleonic Wars, you can get it anyway. It's a DLC for the multiplayer, and there are mods available for Mount and Blade Warband as well. So if you're new to the series, I wouldn't pick all of this up. I would actually just get Warband. As to what the game is, it is a free-roaming medieval combat simulator. So you ride around with a band of merry men that you gather from various peasant villages, or of course hire from various taverns. You build up an army. It's like fighting medieval Total War, but from a third-person perspective. So you do a lot of lance combat, you fight people with swords and things like that. It's still stilted in terms of its animation. It's not a particularly good-looking game without mods, but it's great for free roaming and doing all sorts of crazy pillaging nonsense. So highly recommended, although do expect to get your ass kicked quite a lot. It is pretty difficult on default. Moving on, folks, to Saints Row the Third, $12.49, €7.49, and £7.49. The Europeans get the best deal here by far. This game is fantastic, incredibly fun. This for me is up there with Just Cause 2 in terms of complete and total silliness. It's open world, Grand Theft Auto style silliness, jacked all the way up to 11. You remember when GTA used to be silly rather than serious? Yeah, that's what Saints Row is. It's set in the near future. There's jets, there's a DLC which allows you to get a shotgun. You can call down airstrikes, you can beat up people with a giant sex toy if you so desire. It's lewd, crude, and extremely funny. It's a hell of a lot of fun to play with friends as well. It does have a very functional co-op as well as some fairly amusing mission packs that you can grab, including gangsters in space. All of the DLC is also discounted. A hell of a lot of it is worthwhile at that price. I wouldn't have said that it's worth picking up on its own, simply because the packs were about 1 to 2 hours in length, and they weren't really great value. At 75% off, they certainly are. You can get a big package with everything in it, which includes a hell of a lot of clothes, crazy items, that land shark gun I was talking about. Game rocks, pure and simple, absolutely rocks. The only caveat I have is if you're really not a fan of the toilet humor style, because this game's got it in abundance. It really, really does. It's hardly highbrow, but it's a hell of a lot of fun nonetheless, so that's a definite pickup for me. Moving on to Serious Sam 3 BFE, 75% off, takes it down to $10, €10 in Tier 1, €7 in Tier 2, and £7.49. So this really is a game of two halves. The single player, as well as the co-op, really, really good. It's classic old-school FPS shooter nonsense, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. If you just like shooting dudes and you don't really care about anything else, Serious Sam 3 BFE has that in spades. It's got up to a 16-player co-op, and it's absolute madness online. The multiplayer deathmatch, on the other hand, is absolutely atrocious. It really isn't worth it at all. But at this price, I can't hesitate to recommend it, honestly. If you're looking for something old school, if you're looking for something with a good sense of humor, with a hell of a lot of enemies on screen, a hell of a lot of great guns, then you can't really go wrong with Serious Sam 3 BFE. I've also got to say it's very much a PC game through and through, and it's got one of the best and most detailed options menus you'll ever see. So if you need to customize everything, well, you can do just that. Alright, let's move on to The Walking Dead, 40% off. This is a fairly new game, and it's actually episodic as well, so this is going to get you the whole lot, but currently they're only up to episode 2. So it's $14.99, €14.99, and £12.59. This is an interesting mix, in my opinion. It's kind of like Heavy Rain. I think that's one of the best ways to describe it. It's got a few QTEs here and there, and it's got quite a lot of point-and-click elements. What's really good about this is the atmosphere. It's provided by some excellent characters, really, really great voice acting, and a thoroughly awesome comic book graphic style. This is one of the best games that Telltale has ever produced. It is astonishingly good. As someone that doesn't like point and clicks but really enjoyed Heavy Rain, this is a must for me. I love this game to bits, and I would highly recommend that you pick it up on that basis. I don't even watch the series. I watched a few episodes of Walking Dead, and I wasn't even a fan of it. I haven't read the graphic novels, which is what this is more based on, but I can definitely appreciate what they're trying to do with this game. It's actually an emotionally charged story with really great writing, which is not something you find all that much. So by all means, The Walking Dead, go for it. And my deal of the day, folks, has got to go to Trine 2, 75% off. This is by far the biggest discount we've ever seen on this game up to this point. $3.74, €3.24, and £2.99. It gets you a wonderful puzzle platformer, 3-player co-op, great sense of humor, absolutely beautiful. One of the best-looking games I have ever seen in this wonderfully constructed and realized fairy tale world, whereby you play one of 3 different characters, the knight, the thief, and the wizard, and you use your various skills switching between them in order to bypass the obstacles. This one's got a hell of a lot more combat in it, it's got a hell of a lot better combat in it, it's got a greater variety of enemies, it's much, much better looking, and of course it has that 3-player co-op mode online that was missing from the first game. Without question, Trine has got to be my deal of the day. Frozen Byte knocked it out of the park with Trine 2, and this is the biggest discount we have actually seen on this game up to this point, so go for it. No doubt about that. You can also pick up the Trine franchise, which is Trine and Trine 2. I wouldn't say no to this either. You're not paying all that much extra, and if you're looking to play single player, then the original Trine is also extremely good. So do it. You will not regret it. This game is enchanting. There's no real doubt about that. Okay, folks, that is me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching the sale box. We'll be back on a regular schedule come tomorrow, so expect sale boxes to come earlier, hopefully, assuming nothing goes wrong. And I will see you next time.